Professor Bello, you're an academic.
Yes.
A chemical engineer.
That's true.
You rose to the pinnacle of your career as Vice Chancellor. But you came to be Vice Chancellor at a time when I'm sure you wouldn't have liked it yourself. Not that you didn't want to be Vice Chancellor, but with the demise of Professor Shofolue. Tell us how you felt at that time.
Well, you brought
Memories.
some terrible memories,
Yes.
but God has his own purpose for every situation. Yeah, Professor Tokunbo Shofulue was the 10th Vice Chancellor, and we worked together. Actually, I became Deputy Vice Chancellor under his tenure, and I spent over 2 years as Deputy Vice Chancellor with him before the unfortunate incident occurred. That day was such a terrible day because unfortunately I was not on ground that day. I had discussed with him. I had to go to Obafemi University that day to carry out an examination of a PhD thesis, which had been hanging in my neck because I couldn't create time easily to really leave my job at Deputy Vice Chancellor. So we agreed that I would go on that Friday, and I left in the morning of that day. On the way, I got a call from him.
From him?
Yeah, checking whether I've got up to Ife. And when I got to Ife, I told him, yes, I just got to Ife. We were going to start and all that. So it was so. When later in the night, I got a call, not in the night, late early evening, I got a call from the director of Health Center saying, where was I? The VC was being
admitted.
Well, not admitted, taken to Luth from the Health Center. I said, what happened? He said, well, he developed some challenges came up anyway, and they brought him to the Health Center, but he had to be taken straight to the hospital. I kept monitoring, only to be told later in the night, almost early morning, to find that it was gone.
Oh.
So it was quite a horrible day. So I had to rush down in the morning back to the campus to meet all the other colleagues. So we had to go to the VC's lodge, and the news was broken to the wife and all that. And from there we had to go to the Pro-Chancellor, and then Deacon Gamele Onosode was the Pro-Chancellor at that time. It was in Lagos, so we had to visit. He already knew, so we had to go and visit him to tell him officially what had happened and all that. And that was that. So it's the way it happened was so sudden that everybody was in shock that day. But anyway, as I said, God has a purpose for every situation. And then that day, the Pro-Chancellor directed that we were two Deputy Chancellors on ground. They said the more senior one should start acting. So that was myself. So I started acting as Vice Chancellor for that period. So we can only ask for 6 months anyway by the regulations. So during the 6 months, the normal process will be carried out to appoint a substantive Vice Chancellor, and that's what happened. But the incident was quite shocking, and because somebody you talked to just a few hours earlier, who was monitoring
whether you had got to
where I was going safe, and whether I commenced what I went for easily, and only a few hours later to find that it was gone. So it was just shocking. So, but we thank God for his life. He was fulfilled really, and he was quite an awesome person. So
You took over in those quite traumatic situation for you. Can you describe how that framed the leadership style that you now brought into your tenure as the 11th Vice Chancellor of UNILAG?
well, let me say this: I did not just become substantive directly. You know, it was a process.
Yes.
I acted for 6 months. For those 6 months were probably the longest 6 months we ever had. Not because I wasn't really consumed or subsumed by wanting to be a vice chancellor. No. But what really happened during that period was that, well, fortunately for us, we had a communal administration. The leadership style that Prof. used opened everything up to everybody. So we were all, it was collective. We took collective decisions. And that's what really I used going forward in my organization. But something happened during my acting period which really almost put me off. You recall 2012 was an interesting year.
Yes, for universities generally.
That was the year, election was coming in 2013.
Yes.
And President Goodluck Jonathan, in his wisdom, we were mourning. We were still mourning. We were about to go into the burial arrangement for our Vice Chancellor when he announced the change of the name of the University of Lagos to Mashood Abiola University.
Yes, yes.
And
that was quite...
That was a big crisis. That
yes,
created a big crisis for us.
A big upheaval. Yes.
And so that was a test situation for me.
Yes.
Because before anybody knew, the students were on the streets, on rampage. And I was just coming and we were just trying to even see how we could bury our dead colleague. And so that period was one of the most traumatic for one in an administration, because we were not consulted. Even my council was not in the know. And
the man was not yet buried.
And the man was, knew about the change of name. The minister didn't even know about the change of name. Or nobody knew about that. But then it was a political decision that was taken, and it was just announced in his own, I think, May 1 address or something like that. An address during the May 29th or something. And so that disrupted everything. But then, fortunately for us, we were able to maintain the calm. We were able to go through the burial arrangement without students' crisis taking over completely. And when calm resumed, the University of Lagos is a unique institution, and it has history, and it has a great alumni. And rather than take things into our hand, decided to go legal. And a case was filed in court to challenge that change in name. And we had almost something sons, alumni of the university
defended
that. And that was a moment that one would be proud to be associated with the University of Lagos. And at the end of the day, in fact, at that point in time also, I think the major leader in the Senate was an alumnus of the university. So we had people.
I am an alumnus too.
That were really there fighting the cause for us. And that really helped to calm the nerves. In fact, the students, of course, they will take advantage of everything. They were accusing us of, we knew the thing, we knew about it. And I said, look, no. Let's confess, let's talk. But anyway, we were able to manage and keep it calm. And that was the challenging moment that we had. A lot of other things happened, but it became it turned to be advantage later on. Yes. In terms of government now trying to cut us to be able to really forget about the situation. And luckily, the name was not completely changed, it was reversed. And we got a few things done. We had to really maintain our standard and all that. But initially, I didn't want to contest for VC-ship. But at the end of the day, just towards the end, I said, okay, look, why not? So I told my chairman I would be interested. So we went through it. It wasn't just given to me because I was acting VC. It was a hot contest because there were so many other qualified contestants. So, but fortunately, I was selected as 11th Vice Chancellor, and so I had a 5-year tenure.
Yes.
And I have a record of all my achievements during the 5 years. We were able to at least standardize some things and put the university on a pedestal that is now being built upon now by my successors.
Yes. Yes. Your tenure was always described as a calm one, focused leadership. Apart from that first big tumult that happened, history has it that you were calm, you were focused, you maintained stability and also continuity rather than a radical change. You said something about the fact that your predecessor had a collegiate leadership style. Was that the reason why you followed in that line?
Well, the leadership in a university in Nigeria has to be called based on where you are. Unlike other countries, developed countries and all that, here in Nigeria, in a university as a leader, you have to worry not only about academics, not only about all things that have to do with studentship and other kinds of situations and training only, but you have to work about municipal situations, which is the one that really creates much of the crisis, particularly with students and staff. You are the one that will have to look at after the cleanliness of the compound. You have to look at provision for water, for electricity, and all other municipal activities, which take more than 70% of your time. And so the time should have been concentrating on effecting the real change in your academic thing. You spend more of the time on chasing the normal problems of Nigeria, which is municipality in terms of provision of all the necessary facilities that should be in the need. But that's every investing leader in Nigeria goes through that. But then when you are in a city, like in Lagos, the issue of accommodation is a problem. Students don't really get accommodation. They have to really commute from another problem. Staff also have that challenge. We don't have enough accommodation on campus to take more than 10% we don't take more than 10% of all the staff. Most people come from all over and go to traffic every day. And so when you look at that, how do they really perform? So you have to really weigh all that in all your activities to ensure that things get done properly. You said my tenure was described as being very calm.
Very calm.
Well, I don't know whether really that's true, yes.
That it was.
To a large extent it was, but then we also had another fracas towards the end with the student crisis. Well, the crisis I think 2016, I think.
I was going to come to that.
And we had to prescribe them again and all that. So that's the other one that came up. After that first one during my acting period, everything was all calm, and we're able to really move and get things to, because all I was focusing on then, okay, maybe I could tap back. You said, okay, my administrative style was coined from what we had before. Yeah, there was no need to really change it.
Yeah.
It was communal. All the members of the management, everything was brought up for us to discuss and agree on. So anybody could defend everything that we took anywhere. So I didn't have to be there for them to be able to take on and even move on, to even affect them or defend all our actions. I think there was a bit of that. So there's no autocracy, there was no thing. I ensured that every major thing came through discussion and everybody had input. And so that also developed those that are behind you. And that's why I'm happy that the next two ambassadors after me were in my cabinet. So which is a plus for me. I really love that.
Yes. Infrastructure development, postgraduate expansion. Those were the two things that your tenure, your administration was known for. How do you see those two things? Have they been followed?
Well, we did so many other things, and as I said, all these were cataloged in one book that was presented at the end of my tenure by my colleagues. I get to a copy at the end of the program. Infrastructure, yes, we try our best on infrastructure. But one thing we did was to maintain what was on ground. I told you, let me just give you one particular thing that people forget, but it was major. When I became the Vice Chancellor, I would get calls at midnight from student hostels, from staff quarters, that
as the Vice Chancellor,
yeah, that the waste were burning, or that it's not being cleared for weeks, that weed were overgrown and all that. That as a Vice Chancellor, but I had to take responsibility for everything.
Yes.
So in the process of doing that, we had to now start thinking of how to restructure how all these things were done. And that's the basics of things we're trying to do. It's not only infrastructure alone. Administratively, we were doing restructuring to ensure stability and to maintain continuity. So, for example, we had to find a way to outsource most of those things, instead of just using the cleaners, the quarters who were already aged and who had only a few hours work daily and could not really sustain the thing. By the time we looked at it, I had to call my management, look, we had to do something different. So we had to now take a cue from what was being done in other places and now re-rent it completely. And within 2 weeks of our effecting that plan, both cleaning of the streets, cutting the grasses, even the edges and everything, there was a big change. And everybody forgot, but they didn't, that was not what was there before.
That was, yes.
But I could recall a former Minister of Education coming into INLAG during that period. And she came in straight to my office and said, I just wanted to meet who the Vice Chancellor is. That I came into this campus.
I'm not a woman.
And I was happy that I was in a campus, a university campus. That this is how it should be. Looking at how the edges were all maintained. Because we had to now, it was now being handled by
professionals. Different professionals.
And you could see the greens, the everything, when it's during dry season, they wet, during everything they cut, and everywhere was now. Now they cut away all the garbage, so all those problems calling me at night will not go again. And not only cutting away, they now also separate them. They pick all the things that.
Yes, and so maybe you also started the waste management.
Waste management thing. So we started a management process. And so we didn't, that's why we created where they now dump the things and then they were now saved there. The good things will be selected and then the remaining will now be cut to normal dump sites. So That was one basic thing that people forgot, but that was the big change on how the campus looked at. Infrastructure now came in. Well, of course, infrastructure, you are limited by funds.
Yes.
But we started a few infrastructure. Some of them are still not completed now. I recall there's a project given to us by Central Bank of Nigeria during my acting year, which is still yet to be completed. It's a very big project. It's right at the gate. But it's a big project. I think it ran to some crisis of funds and all that. But when it soon be completed at land, and it's going to be one of the major ones that we project, and a few other projects that we're able to handle. Then you talk about postgraduate work. Yes, we emphasize postgraduate work during my time because, in fact, we were planning to change the institution to a postgraduate university to be training more postgraduate students than undergraduates because we had all it takes. University of Lagos is one of the best in the country, and when it comes to staff, and we're in a municipality, we're in a city, the demands are there, and we interface with the actual industry. So we must be able to satisfy their needs. So other universities
be able to bring bring in a marriage between academic
and town. Yeah, the gown and town.
Yes.
And that's what we're playing. So, and you can do that more at the postgraduate level than at the undergraduate level.
Undergraduate level.
Yeah. Some of them need further education. They come in with their experience, exposure, and the interface, and say they're able to now relate that. And that's really what happened. And I recall when my last graduation, it was almost 50-50. 50% postgraduate graduates and 50% undergraduate graduates. So we push it up to a very high rate. And everything was properly structured, and I think things were smooth during that period. Maybe that's why now you say people see me as having proposed that with that. But after I left, it has been followed up also, and there's been continuity, in all sectors.
So we must say congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
The foresight that you had for bringing that collegiate system into decision making.
Yeah.
No doubt there were a lot of challenges that you faced, balancing both the financial viability of the institution and other things.
Yeah.
But I want to segue into something that QP65. Sir, after so many years in academia, you rose from the ranks, you taught students, especially postgraduate students. What do you think about leadership? What do you think about mentoring? What do you think about how people like you, the retired people, are perceived and utilized today?
Well, leadership, we talked a little bit about before, particularly in academics, has a lot of constraints because of the limitations of what is in the system. But a leader must be a leader, and he must take decisions and move on. Part of leadership is mentoring. Mentoring is probably more in an academic situation, is probably more needed than even the leadership thing. Because you can only develop a culture in a system through mentoring. How do you have an history? The history is left behind by passing what is done today to those who are coming behind, and that's through mentoring. So that's where mentoring is even more critical in that situation than even leadership traits. Not everybody can be leaders, but everybody must be mentors, because you must be able to pass on to the next generation what is earlier. I think so. Mentoring is key, and that is really where we must concentrate and ensure that we mentor those behind us to be able to now be able to take over and even do better.
In hindsight,
in
hindsight, do you think that we are doing enough mentoring?
Well, I would say we may not be doing enough, but in some areas we're trying our best as much as we can. In my own sector, you cannot but do that because it will show. If you don't really mentor those that are coming behind you, there will be nobody to pass on to. You find that, and it easily shows in some areas, and so we usually try to amend fences appropriately. So we usually go through training. You pass on what you have learned from those that were ahead of you to them through training and through following what they do. So in academics, a lot of mentoring goes on. In other areas of our endeavor, it may not be so. And so we can't compare what happens in here with what will happen probably in politics and government, for example. They will not be the same thing. Even though within civil service, you find also mentoring. Because the seniors have to be able to bring the others to ensure that they understand how it is done and be able to improve upon them. So, but mentoring is key in academics.
Being able to pass on
the baton and then be able to ensure that the quality of training remains same, if not better.
At 65, one of the things that we're trying to make sure that happens continually, is the idea of the older people who've served, people who've worked, being shoved aside, being told that they have nothing more to contribute. Do you buy that idea?
Well, I don't think it's that they are just shoved aside. I don't think that is the way. It's just that the nature of our nation, the nature of our ways of doing things have not created enough space for them to be more utilized.
But there's brings about a lot of wastage,
a
lot of void, a lot of gaps.
It is, you are right. But I'm saying that we have not created enough spaces for them to be able to come in and be able to use that exposure, that experience to help in the polity.
How can we do that?
Yeah. Well, I must say that personally, I found myself far more engaged than when I was in office.
Wow.
Because I keep having to take this assignment or that and all that and almost every minute of my day now is almost taken over. So if few of us find ourselves busier, but many may find themselves not even being able to get anything. So there may be a need to find
a balance
between the two. Find what retired people should be engaged on nationally to make us more productive nationally. I think that's essential. For example, currently now, I'm a pro-chancellor of a university, a state university, now just taken over by the federal government. I'm currently the president of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. So if you take those two assignments and lump them together, it's more than being what I was doing. Yeah.
Just one
apart
position.
From my other communal and community activities. So you find that.
Is it something that you would advise for older people to do?
Yes, the way you can pass on what you have is your engagement with your communities. That is one key area that elderly people must not live out in their life. Because people look up to you. And if you don't give back to them, if you don't really encourage them, because they see you as a role model, so they see is the way you act that they want to look at and the way they want to copy.
In other words, we shouldn't roll over and play dead.
We cannot. We must not. So we must be able to go back into the communities and engage with them. And those that we're engaging with, we may not realize it, but they're happy. And what they are getting is not quantifiable.
Even with the Gen Zs?
Even the Gen Zs, as active as they are, as anxious and not restless as they are.
Restless as they are.
No, they still want to learn from you. And they still pick a few things from you. It may not be exactly the same thing as we were when we were growing up, but then they still do something. Mm-hmm. But your engagement with that, apart from your role where you work and everything, your role modeling for them is key. And because we have lost a lot of things in our development in the nation, culturally. The way we grew up, the way we were developed is not where the Gen Zs come in. They are very impatient. They cannot wait for all this we waited for. But then they have to be given the values. We have to inculcate in them the values
of perseverance,
exactly,
of patience, of humility,
and waiting. Be able to wait without losing your focus. So all those things are there.
Ability to wait.
Yeah. Without losing the focus must be there, but they must not jump too fast. Yeah.
They want to jump.
Yeah, they want to jump, but then that's where the elderly comes in. Mm-hmm. If they see someone that can really take them on and advise them and cool them down, it will help them better.
Excellent.
Because the experience matters. You have seen it all, and you can say, look, if you go this way, this might happen. This might happen. You may just look at this, and that sinks. They want to succeed, that's all. But they are fast, they are eager to succeed. That's just what is happening.
Another break for us on 65:15. And when we return, we are going to have Mrs. Bello come and join us. And we now have with us Mrs. Bello. We're very lucky. We're very honored to have you with us.
Thank you.
We are asking you to be with us because this program is talking about the elderly. And we're looking at the roles that elderly play. First of all, when you were growing up, how did you see the elderly? Were they respected? Were they revered? Were they people that you listened to? Or that you just said, Male, yeah? What was your experience growing up?
When we were growing up, we had to respect the older ones. Even if somebody is 1 month or 2 months older than you, you dare not call that person name. That was the kind of respect that was expected of us. Like your older brother, you dare not call them names. You have to call them brother me or auntie me.
Or brother Agba.
Brother Agba.
Brother Kekere.
So there was a lot of respect for the older people around us. And if you see an elderly person coming towards you carrying something, you are expected to go and take that and help the person to carry that, whatever he was carrying, to the house.
That kind of courtesy, that kind of respect.
Yes.
Do we still have it?
Of course, we don't have it now. We don't have it now. It's very unfortunate.
Is it something that we can bring back? Because, for example, people talk about the Japanese culture, how they greet. There's still so much respect, reverence for the older persons. What happened? How did we lose that aspect of our culture?
I think we lost it through I can't say through our own faults, our own generation. Because even with our own grandchildren now, we are the ones that have to correct them. Say, so and so, kneel down, greet them.
Not just say hi.
Don't say,
hello,
good morning, grandma. And we tell their parents, who are our own children, that they should enforce it on them. Because we train them to do that, but they are not training their own children. They are not enforcing it on their own children.
Are they not see? That time is gone.
So
is that their retort?
Yes.
And should we just agree with them?
We shouldn't just leave them. We have to continue to remind them that this is what is expected of them. This is what they should do because of our culture. We shouldn't let our culture die. We should try to keep it up.
I was reading an interview by Professor Ogunsheye. She was talking to some young people. And she was asking them, do you know what etu is? Do you know what alari is? Do you know what, what's the common one that we use for naming ceremonies, weddings? Sonyo. They don't know. Prof, we've removed history in our curriculum. We brought it back.
Just now.
We've removed culture. All these skills, all those things.
Can I just say something? I think
yes.
the most important thing with the cultural thing is language. We are losing the languages.
Fast.
Very, very fast. And that is a major asset that also mimic other things we're talking about, the issue of respect and everything. I recall I was reading some article some time back, and you see a young Yoruba man see an elderly man at the airport and
prostrated.
Everybody will be looking at the person, but that is the sign of respect. You see your grandpa at the airport, you don't just say hi. You must.
Whether you were brought up abroad or not.
Anywhere. But because we've lost the languages and the culture has gone with it, we just try to pick the one that's convenient for us in it. And that is what's going on now. As you said, the Gen Z and the millennial and all those things, they don't have time. They don't want to really pick the ones they want to look on. They don't really have time to really go through all those rigmaroles. And these are the ones that build the people and build the culture. And that's why we're losing it fast. The way we're going in another 50 years or 100 years.
And then we don't even know how to speak the English.
Who we are again. Yes.
We can't even speak the English properly anymore.
Well,
when we were growing up, we were taught how to speak English properly. I was in broadcasting. Yeah. We were taught how to pronounce Yoruba words, Igbo words, Hausa words. And I see them on television today, and a broadcaster cannot pronounce a Yoruba word, a Hausa word, an Igbo word, or Igbo name properly, because they are not taught. Ma'am, we're talking about values. What's the place of values in our lives?
Value is very important. Very, very important, because that's what identify one family from another, one group from another. This family, what is known for? What makes it different from this family? What makes this group different from another family? Like this respect that we are talking about is part of value. To be respectful, to be upright, to be obedient, all these are values. Integrity, all those things, they are values. But we have lost it. The way people dress, you see some young ones. Last week I attended a wedding, and as soon as the bride came out, everybody was like, ha, 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 ha. Like, didn't the mother see her before she came out? That's what we were all talking about. That nobody talked about the father, the mother. Because she didn't cover half of the body. That's part of value. We show the type of woman the mother is.
Shows the kind of woman that the mother is. Because we are the transmitters of culture.
A good mother should have talked to the girls, looked at the dress that the girl would wear on that wedding day before she came out. I said, okay, what dress are you going to wear on that day? Let me see it.
And insist.
Yes, and insist.
I heard that a couple of years ago.
And assess it.
And assess it. There was a church. There were some churches that would say you have to bring your wedding dress, otherwise you'll be turned back.
Yes.
And incidentally, we were looking at some even Muslim weddings, and we saw how flimsily clad they were. And somebody said, Muslim people, they wear. I said, yes, both Muslim and Christian will wear proper wedding dress. But now the Muslims are wearing bustiers, they are doing transparent dresses.
So family values is losing its values.
Yes, family values is losing its values.
These days. And we just have to look for a way of bringing everything back.
How do you think, especially now we're talking about 65, people who are 65 years and over, how do we engage the young people? Should there be, at 65, we're having a community of older people, and we're calling it 65 Connect, so that we can talk and engage the younger people. We've talked with Prof about mentoring. Is there still room for the women to mentor the younger ones?
I think there's still room. Through mosques, through churches, through different groups of women, we can still do it.
Older people who have values.
Yes. Yes.
The women still have rules. See, when it comes to the grandchildren, they relate more to
their grandmothers.
And that's the little culture and value that are impacted are through the elderly mothers. Their mothers don't have time for all that now. And that's what she was saying. But you see, the elderly ones now are the ones that are now playing that role. To at least impart some value and some kind of element of culture into them.
Through stories.
Through the way you ask them to do, kneel down when you greet me.
Yes.
Don't speak to me in English. Don't come here and say good morning, grandma.
Yeah. Kneel down and say Karoma.
Karoma. When you talk to me on the phone, don't say good morning, grandma, good afternoon. Talk to me in Yoruba. They know me for that.
The little you do really helps.
And don't respond to me.
Yes.
I was talking, I think only yesterday, a few days ago, went somewhere. Oh, maybe this morning, a woman was talking to her grown-up daughter, 30, 35 or so, and she was responding in English. So I said, what's the meaning of that? Why? Why can't you respond in Yoruba? You don't understand Yoruba?
Many of them can't speak fully anymore.
And we Yorubas are the most guilty, I'm sorry to say.
No, not necessarily. It's across.
Yeah.
I think one other thing that we are losing in value, and which is key in the nation, and which has also pushed the Gen Zs and the millennials off, is the issue of meritocracy. We don't believe in merit system anymore. And so everybody believes in what you can get and
Immediate.
how quick you can get it. And that's why there's the rush. Even when you are trying to mentor, they will say, leave that mama alone, leave that papa alone. They don't know what's going on now. Because what they see now is what you can bring to the table.
They get rich quick syndrome.
That syndrome is there. But if you really have the merit system that we grew up with,
Yes.
that will help to sanitize the situation maybe a little better. People just go and look. It's connection that I know that will get me anything that I want.
Yes.
And some people don't believe that I can get anything without connection. You must know someone to be able to get things.
Know somebody who knows someone who knows someone.
There are things that are still based on merit. So if we really put back merit system in our culture nationally, I think that will help us to stabilize a little bit and help the younger ones to maintain some sanity.
Marriage. What makes for longevity in marriage? Is it the submissiveness? We went to a wedding over the weekend, and the woman was told, you must submit. And the man was told, you must love. Do people understand why these two words were used? Submission, love. Do they understand, Ma? Do you think? And how it will make for longevity in marriage?
These days, I don't think they understand. They just listen to the words. They don't understand. Because what I observe in today's marriages is that most of these, especially the girls, they look forward to the wedding day. They are not really prepared for the marriage. So you see most of them...
That is a long haul.
Yes, yes. After the wedding day now, the reality comes in, and then...
That daddy is not here, mommy is not here.
They can't cope. They can't cope. So this story about submissive and love, I don't think they get it.
It doesn't resonate.
Those are which ones?
So most of them, they want to get married for the sake of marriage, and then maybe have 1 or 2 children,
and leave.
And then they want to have their independence.
Oh, wow.
Because they don't want to be controlled by a man. They don't want to be submissive. They want their own independence. That's my observation.
Is there something that we can do about it to keep that institution of marriage going? Is there anything that's worth keeping in the institution of marriage, in your viewpoint?
Prayer. Maybe we can pray over it. Because they are so much in a hurry. They want to have independence. They don't want to be under any man. Most of them, they don't want to be controlled by any man. That's my observation.
But is there should a
there's something else,
marriage be a
control,
controlling situation, one up there and one down there? Because when
They
the
don't
Lord
want to be
created us,
submissive.
He said, "I've created a partner for you, not somebody that you should not."
They want to come in, go out as they like, go in, spend their own money on themselves. They don't want to be, that's my own observation.
I think we are global now. That's one of the challenges we have. We are global in outlook. When we were coming up, we were still within Nigeria, within our country. So we still could relate fully to all those kind of things. Globally, it's a different problem. Marriage is almost a contract, globally. And that is what our younger ones now work towards. So it's only a few, small percentage of them that will really still think of, my parents did this, they went through this, or this love and submission thing. Only very few will still want to go through that. Most will want to just be professional. Just let me do my own thing. I'm as good as the man. What does he have that I don't have? And that's what is global. And that's why direction everybody's going. And that's the challenge that we have. So it'll be tough.
In your estimation, what kind of advice would you give to couples? Not only the girls, because the men are as guilty, and they're all coming from a home where the boys are in a particular stream and the girls are in a particular stream. You don't go near the kitchen, you come near the kitchen because this. But like Prof is saying, we are in a global society where everybody has to be self-sufficient anyway. But what is the advice that you would have for younger people who want to get married and stay married?
Well, they have to see marriage as a long-term contract. It's a lifelong contract.
Lifelong journey.
That you want to enter it because you love the husband or the wife and you want to be with him for the rest of your life. Unless you make that, you have that in your mind.
Or the
From
commitment.
the beginning, that commitment from the beginning, and work towards it. That's the only way out. Have that commitment from the beginning and work towards it. And you have to have what it takes to make it work.
Like what?
Patience, sacrifice. You have to be ready for all the things. Yes. You just have to accept each other as you are. Okay, maybe this, whatever is like this man, maybe this is his own problem. I'm ready to live with it. This is her problem. I'm ready to live with it. So, unless you are ready for that.
Prof has a recipe for longevity in marriage. Do you subscribe to it, and can he tell us what that recipe is?
Well, it's a testimony situation. When we're growing up, the first thing you do in the morning is pray as a family, isn't it?
Yes.
When you wake up, whether you're a Muslim home or Christian home, before you do anything else, you pray.
Yes.
And that's what keeps the family together.
Yes.
And so, that's one key thing. We all are together as a family. Not even as couples now. We're talking as a whole family. With the kids, with everybody. So, the recipe, what I prescribe is the challenges of today creates problem with communication. And communication is the key thing. Everybody is hustling. How to catch up. How to catch up. The woman is doing that, the man that. When they have children, it becomes even a problem. The woman will leave the child, the man will have to find a way, or one of them will have. But they must have to be able to communicate properly to take care of every situation. So, sorry, I'm not going to be available because of so, you understand? I have to be. So the other one has to be able to accept responsibility. You should know my schedule, I should know your schedule. Communicate effectively. And how do you communicate effectively? You don't do that by keeping on your own. So there must be an avenue for the communication to occur, even when there are rifts between the two of you. And that's why the suggestion is, I picked it up and I saw it's working, it's worked for us here in my family, and it's working also. That you need to talk regularly. How do you exchange yourself? How do you exchange
ideas?
If you don't really have avenue to talk, however busy you may be, you must create avenue for talking. You must be able to find a time to eat together. And these are when discussion will come up, when you are relaxed. You must sleep together. If you sleep in separate rooms, how do you communicate? The best time to communicate is when you are intimate with yourselves. When you are together, sleeping together, talking together, you talk and talk real things and agree on situation properly. So communication is the key thing.
And talk truths.
And during prayer session, you now understand your problems, you pray against those problems together. And that's communication. And so those are the 4 acronyms that come to the step. Sleeping, talking, eating, and praying. So all those are essential. There could be others that come into it. But the key thing in marriage, I think, is communication.
Because you have to be able to make sacrifice too.
Well, apart from patience, sacrifice. Yeah, a lot of sacrifices. I always thank her and I praise her because if she were to be professional, maybe our children would not have been able to get to where they are today. Because we have to agree, you cannot go and work in industry. Because both of us cannot be running out of the house. The children have to be taken care of. So, and she agreed. It was discussion, it was communication. But if she agreed, she insisted that, I must have to do that, something will suffer. And in the marriage also may break. Because when the children start, they're bringing back report from school and all that kind of thing, you will not be happy. And that could lead to other things. So sacrifice comes in, patience comes in, all other matters. But then you must be able to communicate properly.
I heard you say something. I always thank her. I always praise her. We are told that the man's food of love is respect, and the woman's food for love is praise, touch, compliments. Is that something that both of you did or still do?
Yes.
I want to hear it.
And you must support each other.
Well, I am the type that don't always speak out. And so I get called for that.
Yes.
So when I realize I've not been fair enough by not appreciating the situation, I just have to come and say, sorry. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for this. And that goes a long way.
Thank you, please. God bless you.
It goes a long way. That just those words. Thank you. Appreciate you. Not just I love you. Love sometimes has changed a meaning.
Over the years. How many years now?
50.
50. Wow.
We turned 50 last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And both of you are still looking like...
Well, we are going for the next 50.
Yeah, you're on for the next 50. God bless you
Thank you
both.
very much.
And thank you so much. And so this is where we draw the curtains on 65 today. Remember to follow us on all our social media handles, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Tell us what you would like to hear us discuss on future episodes. But always remember that age is not just a number, it's a treasure for all time. Until I come your way again, it's Dr. Stella Uluwarotimi Ayamara Dorgu saying bye for now.